welcome to another edition of the MyT Sports Minute. I am your host, Talon Taylor, and the MyT Sports Minute is under some rebranding. Pretty soon, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to start calling this the Talent Show. It is a scorching 90-something degree day here in South Florida. One of them days that feels like it's 101. But you know what we say, regardless of what this weather is like, it's always a good time to talk some sports. So let's start talking. There's a lot to get into today. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. You would think it's kind of funny for what's considered a slow period in the NBA or in sports in general actually has a ton of action going on. We have moves going on left and right in the NBA. We have players getting suspended left and right. You know, in the NFL, we have the 4th of July weekend coming up. We got female coaches in the summer league. Yeah, buddy. And we got New York Knicks and Phil Jackson just what looks like to be whiff after swinging a miss. So we're just going to get right into it. We're going to start it off with the first formation. We're going to call this segment the roll call. As we get into these free agencies today, everybody's on the move. Well, I just say everybody's on the move, but you see the money just flying out there. And when I say the money is flying out there, the money is flying out there. The first day alone was ridiculous. You know, we had Draymond Green re-signing. We had. Oh, man, I don't even know if I could really even go through them all in order. But I don't have to. That's the thing about it. I don't have to tell you who signed on day one. Who cares who signed on day one? Unless you just really want to know. But I'm watching these guys go. All these guys sign. Kawhi Leonard, 5 years, $90 million. I'm like, okay. But that works for them. It works for San Antonio. It works for them and the San Antonio Spurs. Because Tim Duncan is willing to do... And can we give kudos? Just a little bit of kudos to Tim Duncan for always being the consummate professional. Because, listen, end of the day, I think he just wants to be the greatest power forward ever. Literally the greatest power forward ever, unequivocally, you know, without doubt, without anybody even being able to say, wait, but you know, no. I think he really wants to go on as that best power forward ever because he just keeps doing all the right things. He already has 5 rings. He's made millions. And you know what he says? Let me to continue winning. And I don't know if maybe this is what David Robinson did, and this is just the kind of culture of what he just kind of picked up on, or this is just him in personal and just what San Antonio has always been doing. But for him to say, I'm going to take my pay cut so that this next batch of guys can be successful, and these next batch of guys could be multi-100 million, 100 millionaires. Yeah, I tip my hat to Tim Duncan and San Antonio as a whole. And I'm even going to talk a little bit more of how I want to tip my hat to San Antonio, because every time I think about San Antonio, it makes my insides tingle, because they really are that model franchise. And as a Knicks fan, there's nothing I want more. And I used to hate the San Antonio Spurs too because of how badly they did the Knicks in that final, by the way, when we didn't have Patrick Ewing in there to help Marcus Camby. But that's a different story of disdain and heartache. We're not going to get into that today. It's the 4th of July weekend, and we're in a celebratory mood. So we're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate Damian Lillard. Congratulations on his new max contract as they start investing into their future. 5 years, $120 million. Anthony Davis gets 5 years, $140 million. See, that was the big one. Like, when I saw that contract, that's when I knew that this free agency was going to be special. So maybe I should have started with Anthony Davis, because Anthony Davis signing and what New Orleans did, I think, kind of just set the stage. Well, you know what? I don't know if everybody already had their plans or was kind of thinking about doing it, but that contract told me that not only were they obviously planning for the future, but everybody was going to sign players this year, get them locked up, and prepare for these salary cap jumps. Like LeBron James may be one of the few, and I hate saying anything positive about LeBron James. Maybe, and whoever's following his guideline, maybe some of only the few smart people in this league, and Dwayne Wade is not considered one of them, by the way, where they're doing these 1-on-1s. Really, I think it's only LeBron really doing it. Well, he's doing this 1-on-1, preparing for the next salary cap jump and the next salary cap jump. Because when he's going to get his 20 mil this year, or whatever's left over after the Cavs sign all these guys, then he's going to get his money this year. But more importantly, after all these guys are nice and secure and he's realized, okay, I got Shump for 5 years. Is it Shump for 5 years? No. Let me back up just a tidbit. Where is your name at, Shumpert? He has Shump for 4 years. No, he has Love for 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. And then he already has Kyrie Irving there. So you can see how they're setting their stage, and then LeBron is like, okay, I held your feet to the fire this year. You took care of these guys, and I'm gonna get my money this year. I'm gonna get my 40 mil next year, and then I'm gonna get my 50 mil the year after that. Oh yeah, he's doing it. But yeah, Anthony Davis. Yeah, when I saw his contract, I automatically knew that there was gonna be massive amounts of money being thrown out there this year. What hurt is that the Knicks can't get anybody to throw that money out too. Theory, in speaking, or in theory, I should say, because what they're doing isn't half bad, but isn't half good either. We'll get back into that because they lose out. And like I said, maybe that's what was pissing me off initially, because remember the last show I broke down of who I kind of thought that the Knicks should get, and I threw names out there that I thought that it was real simple. I looked at all the unrestricted free agents because those are the guys obviously that are going to come off the board first, or should come off the board first. Like this deal where they're offering, where I think they said they're going to offer a restricted free agent a salary and see if the team matches. Well, duh. You have to remember with restricted free agency money, I didn't go into detail about that the last show, is that you want to get all your unrestricted people out the way first because these are the guys that you can make moves on now. If you talk to restricted free agent, then basically you tie up potential money. So you don't want to tie up money when you're trying to go spend money, because then you're looking like, oh, you already have this obligated, you have that obligated, you have that. It looks like obligations. So if you obligate yourself for 20 mil, you can't go out and even sign somebody for 10 mil, even if you know that they are definitely there, because now you have to wait for that other team to go through their process. Yeah, it's a bass-ackwards way of thinking if you ever thought that you should go after one of them, any restricted free agent first. Hence why the guys like Reggie Jackson are still kind of just off in the whim out there, because he's a restricted free agent. And we haven't heard much about him yet, because he's probably, after all of this is said and done, and we're talking about now point guards and stuff, that are these point guards are a few more dynamic players that need to start signing with their teams or make a decision if they're going to play out this last year of the contract or start going full term or long term deals. Yeah, Reggie Jackson is one of them names. And if I'm Reggie Jackson, I think he should bet on himself. But we're not even going to go into that yet. But if Reggie Jackson is the player that I think he is, he should definitely bet on himself. He's going to get a massive payday. But yeah, it hurts as a Knicks fan as I'm watching all of these swings and misses happen. You know, Greg Monroe, and maybe that one hurt more than anything, because as I was breaking down the show and I'm looking at the Brook Lopez, I did mention Brook Lopez. Something that's kind of breaking news. They're not talking to Derek Williams. I like Derek Williams. I think he can be cheap. The Knicks are also talking to Corey Brewer. Now, so they lose out on Greg Monroe, and I thought he was going to be an easy catch. Because while a lot of people don't know about Greg Monroe, if you don't know about Greg Monroe, then that means you aren't the basketball fan that you think that you are. To not know about Greg Monroe. Greg Monroe is a baller. Like, Greg Monroe is offensively probably a top 10 power forward. So if some people don't know him, that means you really only care about the stars that are being fed to you on a nightly basis, and you follow them and the few words that are being spoken about basketball on the television, and you consider yourself this great basketball expert / fan. Because if Monroe snuck up on you, then I'm sorry, then you just have blinders on, because you haven't been paying attention to the NBA for the last 3-4 years. You've just been focused on LeBron James and the Miami Heat. But I said, once again, this is a celebratory show. I don't want to get into that. So, how can I put this? As these free agents really, really start to move, I guess what I realized is the lure of the Garden is not quite there. It's not there anymore, and it's mainly because we're not winning. But it's not. Nobody wants to go to a losing team or a team that looks like they're struggling. Like, I'm gonna talk about that. Stay with my Knicks. Stay with these Knicks. Nobody wants to go to a team that's struggling. But the complete allure of the Garden isn't gone. It isn't just vanished. Because if it vanished, then guys like Iman Shumpert wouldn't be famous. Yes, let that soak in. Because Knicks fans know about Iman Shumpert. Who knew about Shump before he went to the Cavs? How many of you can say that? Honestly. Or who knew about him only because he played in New York? Let me rephrase that. How many of you only knew about Iman Shumpert, the starter of the Knicks tape? Yeah, we'll give him kudos. This is part of the reason why Knicks fans absolutely adore him. I'm thinking, like, he came there and he started and he started this buzz. Iman Shumpert, not for nothing, kept up his end of the bargain, the process. He came into the league as a defender, and all they've ever talked about him as an elite, as the only skill that he has on an elite level is his defense. His shooting has been, even his finishes at the rim are, I've never seen a guy that, I love him to death, I really do. But having J.R. Smith as a role model is just horrible. But having a J.R. Smith as a role model for fun, oh yeah. Listen, as much as I would, like, J.R. Smith is that friend that you have that nobody wants to be around for a really long time. But when you get that dude into, like, the party situation, or he comes like for the house party, like, you guys all love him. He just brings that energy there. You know, like nobody's looking up to him, but they all love, you know, like, that's that friend. The friend that nobody looks up to, but they all just kind of love to have around. You know, like, nobody's listening to him for advice. Nobody's taking anything that he says serious. I guess, am I describing myself? I don't think I am. People come to me for advice. Okay. Maybe this doesn't quite apply to me. I'm sorry. I'm seeing some similarities here between me and Smith. So, yeah, Shump got a huge buzz for being in New York. So while the LaMarcus Aldridge of the world, and let's just say your top tier players, the LaMarcus Aldridge, the LeBron James, the Darren Williams, the Dwayne Wades, the Kevin Durants. Yes, New York. Unless you're good, look at whiffing on all of those guys, because nobody wants to be the loser in New York, which is why I am still giving praise to not only Stoudemire slightly, but definitely to Carmelo Anthony for sticking it out. I told you last year, I didn't hear him talk about he wanted to trade. I didn't hear him talk about that he wanted to leave. I heard some upsetness about the move they made at draft day. And right now, I could still even seeing him being upset at the lack of moves they've been able to do during free agency. Because when you're talking about the pieces of the puzzle and the pie that he needed around him, yeah, they're falling short of guys that they can really get that helps. I'm sorry. Aaron Afalo is supposed to help. See, this is my problem. How many times are you going to keep hiring former Denver players that he couldn't win with for him to play with again? Can we stop this? At some point in time, we have to see that not only did he leave Denver because he wanted to come back home and he wanted the market of New York to explode his stardom, because it can still do that for you, even though you think that your brand is great. Guess what? New York will make it greater. He left probably because there were players that he just couldn't win with. But yet you keep bringing them back and back and back. I don't get it. I don't get it. But yeah, I'm watching these guys fly. I'm watching all these moves happen. You know, DeAndre Jordan still sitting out there. David West wants to play for a contender. Aldridge is flying all over the country, you know, being suited by every single person that he sees. Like, he just wants to, like, you know what he is? He's that girl that goes to the gym, right? Looking cute as ever. Goes out purposely looking extra dolled up and cute, but doesn't want anybody to talk to them. Just, you know, doesn't want anybody to really talk to them. Just did it for the compliments for that day. Just wanted to go out there and just be complimented. You know, and just have people look like, oh, ooh, ooh. But at the end of the day, they're rejecting everybody. He's probably going to stay. Actually, I don't even know that. I really don't. Because, you know what I am noticing? Why is everybody running from Portland? That's what something I wanted that. Because, yeah, Damian Lillard gets locked up. But LaMarcus Aldridge is thinking about moving. But guess who did leave? Brook Lopez is gone. Definitely gone. Either LA or to New York. Now, guess what? For a guy like Brook Lopez, you know what that does? That does help him. I'm sorry, not Brook Lopez, Robin Lopez. I apologize. That does help Robin Lopez. It helps. That will help explode his game. If he goes to any one of these two places, and if you don't know about Robin Lopez or the Lopez brothers, then once again, you just been under a rock for almost the last 10 years. You know? But, yeah, man. People are running out of Portland. And it's not being mentioned. Wesley Matthews runs out of Portland, goes to Dallas, as Dallas starts to put together their pieces. LaMarcus Aldridge is running out of there. Robin Lopez is running out of there. Who are they holding on to that's gonna help Damian Lillard? Hey, seriously, think about this. As we're running, because and maybe that's what I should do as I'm running down some of these teams. Like, I told you about Kawhi Leonard and the San Antonio Spurs, and I touched on them a little bit. So yeah, let me touch on that next big contract, that 5-year, 120. Why is everybody running out of Portland? It's gonna be interesting to see if LaMarcus Aldridge doesn't re-sign with Portland, if Portland is even a playoff team next year. And that's going to say a lot more about maybe the strength of the West, as we see Phoenix beefing back up, Dallas trying to beef back up, Houston is still there, Golden State Warriors are still there, Oklahoma City should be healthy next year, LA Clippers are... Yeah, listen. Damian Lillard put out a tweet earlier saying the grass may not always be green on the other side. He shouldn't be using words that may offend people and make them run. Instead, he should be using words that kind of says, hey, come home. Come back home. Because this West is brutal. And me and Batum may not be enough to do it all. Talk about the grass is greener, Lillard. You may not want to put your foot in your mouth because, yeah, that may be applying to you. you may be taking Aldridge for granted. Like, you need to be begging him back. You're losing bodies in Portland. Anthony Davis locked up 5 years, 145 mil. That's about all I can say about New Orleans right now. I'm sorry. You lost the Brooklyn boy to the Clippers. What's his name? The Blowmaster. Sean Livingston. Not Sean Livingston. Fudge. You know who I'm thinking about, too. Me and the boys were just having a conversation about this guy. Because we had him in the category. Right? And, you know what? I don't even have to remember his name right now. Because, I'm pretty sure I'm going to remember him when I bring this up a little bit later. Just remember when I talked about this, about me and my boys having a conversation about him and Green. Draymond Green. That is, being kind of the same DNA or makeup of guy. But I can't say much about New Orleans after that. Like, I haven't heard much more about them. I haven't seen much more about them. All I know is that they've re-signed Anthony Davis and they have a new head coach. Where's the improvement of the team? Where's the additions to help them get better? Was Robin Lopez in Portland last year? I think he was. He wasn't in New Orleans. He was in Portland. I'm not even going to second guess that. Goran Dragic resigns for 5 years and 90 mil. On top of that, Dwayne Wade comes back. Which, listen, Miami fans, I'm telling you, I'm going to tell you this. One of the best things that I do like, is being a Knicks fan, or being a New Yorker in South Florida. I'm being a fan of all these New York teams in South Florida, because we get to do this battling all the time. Like, some of my best friends are Heat fans, Dolphins fans, Marlins fans. Some of my best friends are Mets. Like, I'm going to give you my order. I am a Knicks fan, Jets fan, Yankees fan. Those are my three teams. I know it doesn't make sense. Some people tell me it doesn't make sense. I think I've already mentioned this before. It's not supposed to make sense. It's who I like. But, so, when the Knicks and the Heat go at it, I get to reap the benefits of that. So I've been watching them sweat as they had no clue what Dwayne Wade was going to do. And Dwayne Wade did what he was supposed to do. He got a 1 year, $20 million deal. I'm sorry, that's $10 million more than I think any other team would have given him out there. And that's definitely $4 million more than he actually deserves. Like, listen, they are paying him back. But they're doing it as wisely as possible, because you do it for 1 year, and now you don't have to lock him up for a long period of time, because you don't think that he has a long period left in him. And then, next year, when you're really looking to sign people, you can always tell him, listen, if you get Durant, you can tell him, listen, we don't need to sign you back for this big money. Or, if you get Durant, this is going to be enough money to still give him another $20 million. Like, who knows? But it leaves Miami with all these possibilities, as now you have Goran Dragic, right? And you have Dwayne Wade, but you don't need Dwayne Wade. You have Winslow. And if Winslow is smart, listen, I'm telling you, Winslow is the only reason I'm even interested in Miami right now. Not for nothing. As much as I do hate Miami consistently drafts players that I have a high interest in. And I think Winslow is gonna be that guy that's gonna keep my interest in Miami again for the next 5 to 10 years. Especially when he has so many good mentors out there. Miami's gonna now have, and we're just talking about their starting five. Possibly. Did Luol Deng re-sign with them? I'm gonna have to look that up. But you get Dragic and you get Winslow. And yes, I'm putting Winslow in. And you know what? Maybe not. See, and if Luol Deng is there, Luol Deng has been injured prone, I think, these last couple of years too. Struggling to give you consistent minutes. So, let's see. We're talking about Dragic, we're talking about Whiteside, and we're talking about Bosh. That's your point guard, that's your power forward, that's your center. Alright, so now we're talking about your shooting guard and your small forward. And maybe this is where Winslow's hybridness comes in handy. because he gets to, and this is what I'm talking about. Like, you get to learn from these guys. You get to learn from the Luol Dengs that's been in the playoffs God knows how many times. You get, even Dragic gets to learn a little bit from the organization of Miami, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. But you get to learn from a guy that I think he plays a lot alike Winslow, compared to Wade. So when I'm looking at this Heat team, I'm like, okay, yeah, Dragic, Wade, Deng, Bosh, Whiteside. And then you get to add a 6-man in Winslow and bring him along slowly, or a 7-man, 8-man, whatever. But you get to bring him along slowly, and he gets to do that crossbred position between the small forward and shooting guard position, while you allow not only Dwayne Wade but Luol Deng to both get some rest and hopefully take an ease off their body. No word on DeAndre Jordan. I think I've said that already. David West, LaMarcus Aldridge. Just know that David West doesn't want to go to New York. Greg Monroe goes to Milwaukee, 3 years, $50 million. And listen, I told you about Milwaukee the other day when I was talking about how I think that Derek Williams needed to leave Brooklyn. Listen, Jason Kidd is doing some things over there, and he has that team flourishing. Now you add a guy that you can anchor down the middle. And when I say anchor down the middle, I'm not talking about defensively. The only thing I'm thinking about him is a defensive anchor. The reason I wanted him so much, and I even thought about, remember when I was talking, I even thought about having Millsap for this, was just to have somebody every once in a while that you can throw the ball down into the low post and have them go to work down there. 10 feet away from the basket, 12 feet away from the basket. Have somebody collapsible, somebody that can get easy 2-pointers, and not always have to jack up these threes. Because isn't that what the NBA is coming to? If you can't score in the paint, then it's either the 3-point shot, nobody's doing the mid-range. Except for, I think, probably the Knicks this year. This is so funny to me. Kevin Love sticks with Cleveland. 5 years, $110 million. As you see Cleveland, like I said, I already mentioned this. As you see Cleveland starting to shake their stuff up. Dwayne Wade, 1 year, $20 million. Danny Green, another San Antonio guy. 4 years, $45 million. $9 million. I'm sorry. Did I say $9 million a year? A little over $11 million a year. Just San Antonio consistently taking care of their guys. Now, what shocked me was DeMar Carroll going to Toronto, which is somebody else I thought the Knicks could get, because he peaked. Listen, because I heard that he said he was interested in being a Knick. So if somebody's interested in being a Knick, how do you not get him? How do you not go out there and help? Because what I saw that you needed from, listen, if you haven't realized it yet, all of these guys are kind of the same thing. The reason Knicks fans were mad about the draft is because they passed the buck on a guy like Winslow, because of what we knew we needed to address from that shooting guard position. Which is why, hearing that Carroll wanted to be a Knick piqued interest, because you're like, oh, okay then. This is a guy that can score some points, doesn't mind contact, plays defense. He can help not only take a scoring load off of Melo a little bit, but definitely take that defensive role off of him. But we miss up on him when we get Aaron to follow. So, man, 2 years, $16 million. It's not gonna hurt. It's not gonna break the bank. That's 2 years. Salary cap goes up next year. We get we get something to work with next year. Millsap stays with Atlanta. Brendan Knight, somebody else I mentioned that I thought that the Knicks could have possibly pursued. He stays with Phoenix for 5 years, $70 million. As Phoenix starts to shape up their team as well, and go on with life without Dragic, they get Marcus Camby, which is the reason I don't want DeAndre Jordan. But I guess if that's all you like, if you have no more offensive big men left out there, I guess you're gonna have to go for specialty guys now. If you don't have the all around kind of guy, And I don't know. yeah. I'm not saying Monroe was even an all-around guy. We've had Marcus Camby. Not Marcus, but we had Marcus Camby too. But we've had Marcus Camby. We've had Tyson Chandler. We've had Samuel Dallenberg. Whew. God, I remember these guys. Didn't butcher their names this time. So I know all too well of the positives and the negatives of having that makeup of big man. But it's still, at the end of the day, very limited. You're not scoring anything. He can't put his back to the basket and put up points. But their rim protection and their defense and their rebounding is just as valuable sometimes. And the one thing about it is, if you are going to get a guy like that is really just a defender, a rebounder, and a shot blocker, then I would prefer that it is somebody like what Tyson Chandler used to be, like a DeAndre Jordan is now. I'd rather be a guy that plays above the rim, because then it makes that lob, that little entry lob, to get him an easy bucket a lot, simpler. Reggie Jackson's still sitting out there, and I'm kind of curious to see what happens with him. If I'm a team, I trade for him this year. I give him an offer sheet. I do something with him. Reggie Jackson is too good of a talent just to be sitting out there waiting for phone calls. I'm sorry. His name should be his phone and his name should be buzzing. Wesley Matthews goes to Dallas. Once again, another Portland guy that's flying out of there. Thomas Robinson. Now, not for nothing, Thomas Robinson's another name that I kind of mentioned out there of a big man that I would like to have. Energy, rebounding, defensive. If you get this guy to focus, or if he's molded the right way, he can possibly be something profitable, worthwhile. Something that you can put onto the court and he not be in that negative column all the time. When we're talking about plus minuses. Almost the same exact thing that I think about Derek Williams, who once again the Knicks are currently talking to. You see Monte Ellis, and I didn't want Monte Ellis either. He goes to Indy. He fits for Indy. I don't know how he fits for Indy, but he fits for Indy. like all these guys are players that I like. I'm a fan of Monte Ellis. I just don't like undersized guards. And he's shoot happy. So for somebody like Indiana, he's better for Paul George than he is better for Melo. I guess that's the easiest way to say that. Monte Ellis is a lot better for Paul George than he is for Carmelo Anthony. Because of the fact that Paul George does take on a huge role of that defensive work. We've seen him tire at the end of games because of it. And them not have another option outside of dump it down low to the 7'1" Hibbert. Georgetown product. Like Greg Monroe. And maybe this is what I know about the Greg Monroes. Georgetown product. But, so to have him, a guy, like another unconscious shooter, helps. It's like how J.R. Smith is great for LeBron James in Cleveland, but hasn't really been that great for Carmelo Anthony anywhere. See, another guy that they brought to help Melo from his former team. How many times you gonna do it? J.R. Smith, Aaron Afalo, Kenyon Martin. How many? Huh? Butler stays with Chicago. Shumpert re-signs with Cleveland. Draymond Green, 5 years, $85 million. Brook Lopez re-ups with Brooklyn. And maybe that's why I would like to see Robin Lopez there. Can you imagine having the two Lopez? And this is maybe why he is thinking about the New York Knicks. Maybe he wants to be close to his brother. Maybe that will be the ultimate motivation. Maybe the Knicks need to sell that. Like, yo, your brother's right there. maybe you don't want to play against him 4 times a year, but your brother's right there. You'll be close to family. Like, for two guys that are twins that have always been away from, that grew up together, that now have been away from each other because of this basketball thing, they get to now live in the same city again. So I think he should do it. So, and the future Hall of Famer, Paul Pierce, goes to the Clippers. I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful on so many levels because DeAndre Jordan needs to quit playing. He needs to quit playing and just go back to the Clippers. Look what they're doing. Like, to get... I'm not a fan of Paul Pierce, obviously. Knicks fan, Boston, don't like him. Can I respect his game? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And where his game is at is a beautiful thing. It's the reason I like Paul Pierce, or I think I can say, like, I enjoy following Paul Pierce move along, is because I see a lot of Melo in Paul Pierce. I see a lot of Paul Pierce in Melo. There we go. I see a lot of Paul Pierce in Melo. And if Melo ever got his Kevin Garnett and his Ray Allen and his Rajon Rondo, he'll be straight. The best he got was a broken Stoudemire, an old Jason Kidd. Who else did I say? And a streaky J.R. Smith. I can't move without the ball. What was his name? Jesus. Knicks fans, we were in love with him. That 6'10" guy. They used to do the discount double check every time he hit a 3. See, but even he became famous from being in New York. So, when people say the lore of the Garden isn't there anymore, you're right. It is, but it isn't. So you're wrong. Like, you're dead wrong. The allure of the Garden is always gonna be there. It is still the basketball mecca. It's just not the basketball mecca for stars. And stars don't want to go there unless they're winning. But we don't need stars there when we're winning because we probably don't have any salary cap to sign them anyway. And to get a star there, we probably have to dump off half the team. Sounds familiar? Yeah. Kind of what keeps happening to us, Knicks, New Yorkers. Like, we really need to take the time to build. Like, they keep saying you don't have the time to build in New York because... But listen, you need to do something. Like, the bad losing has to stop. These next couple of days are gonna be... They're fun. They really are kind of fun. Because these are very much like the offseason for the NFL. These are your hopeful days. These are your hopeful days that you can sit back and say, we just received a birthday present. Like, this is like Christmas, your birthday, all of them on one. Everything starts all over again. It's like what your birthday is for you. Your birthday is your own personal New Year. Right? Don't ever get it twisted. That's what your birthday is. Your birthday is your own personal holiday, and it's your own personal New Year. So this is what we get in the NBA right now. This is what we're getting in the NFL. We're getting a birthday present. We're getting that new feeling again because now everybody's hopeful again. Like, even 17-win Knicks are hopeful again because we get to hope that we could turn 17 to 27 maybe. But we get all these guys back. So yeah, we're gonna get our gifts. Talking about birthdays and gifts, we're gonna bring you our in-house special, or our in-house segment of the show, where the in-house is anything that's kind of personal to me. And you have to understand, I have a lot of origins. So what could be personal to me could be anything. It could be my personal life, just people that I know. It could be personal to me as far as my current location in South Florida. It may even be personal to me as far as what happens in my hometown of Brooklyn or New York. Or it could be personal to me as a soldier. So, you know, my in-house special is really anything from local to worldwide, but they're more sentimental. Like, these are the things that are really tugging at my heart. First and foremost, I want to say happy birthday to my lovely niece. She turned 17 today. And I'm sorry, it wasn't today. It was yesterday. These two birthdays are for yesterday. But she turned 17, and she doesn't know how to drive yet. And we live in the South. Like, and we live in New York. Like, I didn't know how to drive until I turned 18. Like, that's when I got my license. I didn't know how to drive. I just didn't get my license before that. I had been driving for a while. Well, at least getting my practice on, I should say. So, my niece turned 17, and there's nothing more that I want to do than go kidnap her and teach her how to drive. But before I even say that, also I want to say happy birthday to the lovely young lady I've been hanging out with, or I've gotten to know for the last couple of months. And it was her birthday too, Tanika. And we've been going ham since Wednesday. And it's not looking to stop anytime soon. Like, it just happens to fall on the 4th of July weekend, so this is what happens. Like birthdays are major for me in July. Like, if you understand, like, when July starts, I know I don't stop celebrating. Because my birthday also falls in line as well. Like, my birthday's on the 17th. And every single year in the middle of July, I got me and my very close friend. And if you haven't listened to his podcast, maybe you should. His name is Bobby Lewis, and his DJ name is DJ Scepter. And me and him throw this mega bash every single year. We get we find a local spot, and we've had this spot now for the last 3 years. And that's because we found a local spot that's kind of close for everybody, you know, that has no cover, and we get free reign of the facility. You know, we can decorate it how we want. We can invite who we want. We get DJ Zog, who's local down here, but I guess he's kind of a local celebrity down here because he does all the local radio stations down here. So we get DJ Zog to come out. He gives us an hour and a half, 2 hours, a 2-hour session, and just shows us all kinds of love. You know, that's so my boy Bobby doesn't have to work that night and DJ, but he can't help himself, and he's always gonna hop on the ones and twos for a little bit. So while we're talking about birthdays and my niece, I want to show my niece how to drive, right? Because this one thing I really do hate about South Florida is that the driving down here is horrendous. But I'm not gonna talk about the negativity of driving today and how nobody down here knows how to use their blinkers and doesn't realize that it helps people like me to know which way I need to go while I'm speeding past you. But I want to talk about something I've recently discovered, and I kind of want to challenge you guys to try this out. Try one day driving in the slow lane, but don't just drive in the slow lane. Go like 80. Like, let's say, put it this way, if your speed limit is like 65, see what happens when you do like 70, 75, 80 in the slow lane. I've been doing this lately, and can I tell you how much you realize how doing 80 and 85 in the slow lane, you watch all these people start speeding past you? Because watch what it does for the flow of traffic when the guy in the slow lane is doing 85 miles an hour. It makes everybody else, that's what I'm assuming, it makes everybody else feel like they're going slow. So everybody flies past me until I think they realize a little bit up the road when I catch up to them that, holy crap, we were doing 100 past that guy. Like, I start to wonder if I've unintentionally gotten some people tickets because of it, because they fly past me, not realizing that I'm already flying. I can't stand to drive slow. Like, so let me tell you, got my license at 18, barely drove in South Florida. You know, when I got my license, because I probably had it for about 2-3 months before I joined the Army. Drove in the Carolinas for a couple of years, but then quickly, 3 whole years of driving in Germany on the Autobahn, no speed limits so basically the Autobahn is their highway, so no speed limits on their highway, no real speed limits on the local roads because there are no cops on local roads to harass you. All they have are those speed cameras, and once you learn where those are at, then you can speed everywhere else. So, yeah, I kind of have a heavy foot because of that. Also, very progressively, or you know what? I shouldn't say very progressively because that's not even the word I'm looking for. But at least not in that particular order because it makes no sense. But I want to give my shout outs to the San Antonio Spurs. Again, yes, San Antonio Spurs. I'm not going to stop talking about them because you see their progression consistently and the way. Listen, when this NBA changes, you're going to thank San Antonio Spurs for it. And when the opportunities start to open up, you got to thank the San Antonio Spurs for this, ladies. Because the San Antonio Spurs are now allowing Becky Hammon to coach their summer league team. She should be coaching. Yeah. Yes, I'm giving her kudos for that. I'm giving them kudos for that. Because, yeah, man. Listen, that's where it starts. Like, she's going to have to get her breaks somewhere. And why not with the summer league? The summer league is going to go to probably the D-League team if she's not already coaching that. I don't think she is. I don't remember hearing that she was. Because she's already assistant coach, or one of the assistant coaches on the Spurs. Pretty soon she's gonna be a head coach in this team, in this league. And if well, listen, Texas is happening in Texas, so that's a big market anyway. It's not Dallas, but Texas gets its own spotlight continuously. And it's great that she's doing it in I guess the low key portion of Texas that you can do these stuff, and it just yeah man. So as a soldier or as a veteran, and for all the things that you constantly hear the San Antonio Spurs do for the troops, this is one former troop, you know, that's gonna give them their love, their kudos, their respect for what they've done. So, Spurs. If you haven't noticed, that's currently the only sound drop I have. Shirt fans. No, yeah. So, yeah, from one soldier, from one veteran to this staple of an organization, this cornerstone of an organization. Kudos to you for letting her coach that summer league team. I can't wait for you understand, like, as a black man, let me use that. As a black male growing up, right, there's one thing that I've always, like a few things I've always been looking forward to. Technology and inclusion. And part of the thing about technology, because we need the world to shrink so that we can become one combined Earth. Like, so we can get on the same page. But technology helps the world shrink so that so we get visibility not only into our own country but also into the world. And that visibility starts holding people accountable. And it stops all the exclusion that keeps going on for unnecessary reasons. Gender, race, skin tone, whatever it may be. So I've always been and then, growing up, from a single parent household, and, always not wanting my mother to be ever, excluded out of anything herself, because whatever opportunities that she obviously got was going to benefit me growing up as a child. Like, I knew this growing up. Like, I was very well aware of certain things growing up. Even though racism didn't quite exist for me, as really, really until I got to the Carolinas. Because, Brooklyn has that melting pot. You don't witness it, really. Like, everybody gets along in a weird way. We function. it's not so predominant. It's not so in your face. Like, that's what the South is like. They doesn't want to keep their racism in your face all the time, all the damn. Listen, too lighthearted. We're not going to talk about this on our 4th of July special. So, staying in my in-house segment, I want to pat myself on the back. I'm gonna give myself an Attaboy award. Yeah, like this is something that we used to have in the military. We used to call it Attaboy. Like, you couldn't get an award. Like if for some reason, like, you couldn't get an award for something, or you couldn't get recognized, we were like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna put you in for an Attaboy. What's that? Attaboy. Attaboy. Yeah, we're like, listen, we're unsensitive jackasses to each other in the military. Like, it's just the most beautiful thing. Like, people are so upfront. It's so at least the people that you could be close with. Like, when you get them people that you can just, it's just so refreshing. So I'm giving myself the Attaboy for. Remember last year I was talking to you guys, right? And I told you that there was a couple of players that I thought had the same kind of DNA. And granted, I told you that they did it at different levels. I still thought they all had the same makeup. There's some just do a little bit more. They're able to give more. They're able to see. And it's probably more basketball IQ than it is physical capabilities. Because all of these guys are physical studs. And like I said, I was sitting around talking to the boys. And they even threw a name in there that I'm like, you know what? I argued with them about it initially, but when I came home, I was like, you're right. So what I'm talking about is that I called Draymond Green in the same genetic makeup, and I have to say this that way so you understand that I'm not saying that these guys are these guys, but but listen, all the guys I'm about to mention are all champions except for one, and that's the one my boys brought up to me, but. Pippen said it. He was like, listen, LeBron James is more like me than he is like Jordan or even like Magic. I think he's like more like Jordan. I don't know if he mentioned Magic. Let me not ad-lib. Let me just stick to the words I know. He's more like me than he is Jordan. Which is what I've been telling people, that I've thought that LeBron James has always just been a better Pippen. Listen, LeBron James still isn't winning without Wade. I'm sorry, Wade is a 3-time champ. LeBron James is a 2-time champ. But he's so it's not a. Let me not bring that up. Because it's not a diss on LeBron James. It's just putting things in perspective. Like, I think Andre Iguodala is in that same DNA category of the LeBron James and the Scottie Pippens of the world. I said this already. 6'8", 220, 230 pounds. Physically imposing monster athletes of a guy, of a man that they're long, they're lengthy, they're athletic, they hustle. These are the Swiss Army knife. This is what I call the Swiss Army knife DNA. This is what these guys have. They have that versatility to their game and they know how to use it. Listen, I told you, even Draymond Green picked up a little bit of something to change his game when he was going to the basket, when he started playing Cleveland and them other boys, because he realized he just couldn't just muscle his way through there like he wanted to. So, so when Scottie Pippen said that, I was like, holy crap! I've been telling people this for years. I've been telling people this so much. Like, I feel like I'm gray in the face because I'm black. I can't turn blue. Like, part of my weird humor, but technically correct until I was gray in the face. Just because of, like, if you know how frostbite works, people with pigment, that, frostbite starts to turn gray and stuff. So I always tell people, like, I turn gray in the face. I can't turn blue. Like, you'll never see me turn blue. I go gray. But yeah, man. So when he said it, so the addition now to it is who we were talking about earlier, with who the Clippers decided to sign. Because my boys, and I'm gonna tell you how it started. Because when I mentioned this to my boys, like, one of them came back to me and said, well, Draymond Green isn't really that dude. He isn't in that same category as Iguodala, as Pippen, as LeBron James. And that's because when you hear it, you hear me comparing Draymond Green to Andre Iguodala, LeBron James, and Scottie Pippen. And you think, oh no, he's nowhere. He's a hothead. He's an emotional leader on that team. Yes, I'll give him. He has some mental breakdowns every once in a while, right? But it's not. It's usually not in a way that it's greatly hurting that team. Because if that's the case, then you're calling him J.R. Smith. And he is far from J.R. Smith. You see? Like, and that's where that's where I guess I was really I started really getting offended by. It was when they said that. I'm like, no. Hey, he is not that guy that you're talking about. Like, he is not that bad of a player. So who am I talking about? I don't know who I'm talking about. I do know. So, yeah, I was happy. Real happy to hear that Pippen finally put it, in perspective. Very much in perspective. For me. And I don't know if that's really for me more than it is for everybody else, because that's what I was saying. And this is this was the point that I was really trying to get across to them, is that these guys aren't the same player. I mean, I shouldn't say the same player. I'm not saying that they're the same caliber of player, because that's what separates them, is the caliber of guy. And it's Lance. And so they said, like, oh, Draymond Green is Lance Stevenson. I'm like, no. To call Draymond Green Lance Stevenson, to call him as bad as Lance Stevenson, I don't even think Lance Stevenson is that bad. Like, they're talking about the blowing in the air and stuff. Yeah, Lance Stevenson loses Cooper. But if I had to rank them, like, J.R. Smith is the worst out of all of them. Lance Stevenson has way too many shenanigans that I would like. I don't see Draymond Green being anywhere in the same category as those guys, as Lance Stevenson or J.R. Smith. But I will give you this about Lance Stevenson, which Lance Stevenson is another one of those guys that kind of has that same DNA. This is all. It is what I said. The switch is the mental, is the mental game, is the mental capacity that they have, the mental maturity. Like, I'm sorry, Andre Iguodala's always been a mature player. So is Scottie Pippen, so is LeBron James. You see the success that they have. Draymond Green could be a little hot-headed, but more than anything, his emotions is what helps drive that team. And nobody understands an emotional guy that helps your team more than Steve Kerr. He had Rodman. So now added to my category, because I'm hoping that Lance Stevenson takes his opportunity not only to learn from Doc Rivers, but to also learn from Paul Pierce and excel his game to the next point, because we saw glimpses of it in Indiana. He can be an 18, 6, and 6 guy. 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and a steal. He can be that guy. And he can create his own shot. So you look at what Clippers are doing as they're looking for guys that they can't find, or as they're looking for more weapons. Now we're talking about Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and like I said, like DeAndre Jordan just needs to go back. But now you get Jamal Crawford. You have Jamal Crawford now that can get his own shot, but you don't have to worry about him now being the only guy that can create his own shot. Now you add Lance Stevenson. He could create his own shot. Now you add Paul, the truth, Paul Pierce, and he could create his own shot. And now the Clippers start looking like the Clippers that we were envisioning to go, to make a run in the finals. This last section is what I'm going to call the drop zone. Yeah. In the military, we have a drop zone. Now, this is going to be several things. This is what I want you, I'm going to hold some feet to the fire on this one. And there is no other professional foot as that I want to hold to the fire more than I want to do is with ESPN right now. And this is also one of them things that I really, really hope, as we now just break into an hour, I really hope gets to the right people to hear. As you hear me talking about the progression that the San Antonio Spurs are making, and me even wanted to teach my niece how to drive. You understand? Like, that's my oldest niece. She's 17. I have a younger niece that's 4. And she loves her uncle. And her uncle loves sports. She loves her father. Her father loves sports. Listen, this kid does push-ups. She wants to do pull-ups. She runs track and field. She plays basketball. The only problem that I have is that when I turn on a women's basketball game, the first thing out of her mouth is, "Oh, we're watching the boys playing basketball." And I'm like, no. These are the women playing basketball. And every time I have to remind her that women play sports. ESPN. Women play sports. So this is for you. You have an ESPNW website. Why don't you have an ESPNW channel? And listen, I'm hoping that this comes off as clear as I needed to, because I had this written down, and wherever this was written down at, it no longer exists. But I've had this on my mind as a forethought for so long. I shouldn't say for so long. For about 2 years now, since my niece has been 2. And for that one day, I was trying to go find anything that resembled a female sport, and I couldn't find it to show her. And I'm kind of upset I forgot to record the Serena Williams game earlier today that she just won. So, yay. Also, so ESPN, you have all of this. You call yourself the world wide leader of sports, but yet I don't see you taking the initiative to be the worldwide leader in women sports. And it's touching me again, because not only does it touch close to home with my own niece, I'm hearing the last couple of days the story of the women's soccer team that has to live with Jeff Van Gundy. If you want women's sports to progress in this country, ESPN, you're gonna have to be that leader. You are gonna have to be that leader. You have an ESPNW website. Make an ESPNW channel. Do it. You already have the SEC channel just to show old college games that I happen to watch and see an old Florida versus Ohio State game. Yeah, keep it a little bit local again. But no. And listen, I'm not just gonna say it just to say it. I'm gonna tell you a couple of solutions. You have, during these slow time periods, as when I skim through ESPN, I catch cheerleading competitions. I catch track and field events. Listen, you have even had the audacity to start color commentating video games. Are you kidding me? And you don't have an ESPNW yet? Stop it. Take the cheerleading competitions off of ESPN. Take all of these other women programs that you have off of regular ESPN. Start an ESPNW channel. I'm watching his and hers. I forget her name. I'm in love with this short-haired girl. You know, you have enough women commentators. You have the Jamel Hills. You have her. I see them all over the place. I know they're there because you wouldn't have an ESPNW website if you didn't. Stop playing. Take all of those programs that you have on your regular ESPN that have anything to do with women. Start an ESPNW television show or channel. You have enough reporters. You have enough commentators. You have enough anchors. You have enough production people, period, to do it. Who cares if you may lose money? You're going to gain money all in all, because guess what you do? When you take all of those programs off of regular ESPN and you put them on ESPNW, guess now what happens? Now you freed up all of those time slots. I know somebody here has had to think about this already. Like, why has this not been presented? Why has this not gone through? You get to, when you take all of those off, you get to now sell all those new time slots
that you took off your regular ESPN channels, your ESPN News, your ESPN2, your whatever. You have all these ESPN channels. You don't have an ESPNW. Also, you get new contracts. Listen, go sign up women's golf if you can. Go sign to get the women's tennis contract if you can. But you know who you can definitely help? You can help women's soccer. You can help the WNBA. You can be the worldwide leader to promote women's sports and start getting these female athletes paid correctly. Start getting them highlighted and celebrated in the same light that we do our men athletes. Because listen, as a person that has had to put their body through a physical toll and not get any recognition for it, I can understand what these women athletes are doing to their bodies. So, and watching their male counterparts become multi-millionaires. You know, being able to buy boats and buy yachts. You know, Dwayne Wade, waiting to get his contract signed, and he's over there sipping tea, with LeBron James and Gabrielle Union and God knows where. And we have our women soccer players that are about to be gold medal winners because they just advanced, living with families during their regular season just because they just don't get paid anywhere. They don't get paid from their league. They don't get paid by the Olympic Committee. Actually, they have to fork over money to bring back their medals. So, ESPN, from a soldier to a man, from a black man, from however you want to look at it, you have the resources. You guys have the resources, and you have the stage. Start being accountable. Like you guys always want to hold people accountable. Start being accountable. Take your own advice. Be the worldwide leader again. Do it again. Get a whole new generation of people and a whole new gender to fall in love with ESPN. I hear your radio stations. You have women callers. Think about it. Listen, the NFL knew what they were like. You gave kudos to the NFL for targeting their women, like targeting their female audience. Why haven't you? Why haven't you? Also, I want to make a couple of corrections from the last show. Yeah, I listen to all my I listen to all my programs. I listen to them constantly. I may be the only reason why my podcast or even have playbacks right now, but it is done obviously for a lot of reasons to help me to know what I don't know how I sound to you guys, so I listen for little things that I need to correct. One of the things I realized I needed to correct, I have been butchering first names of people that I know. Like you saw it today, even with Lance Stevenson calling him Sean Livingston. So I've been butchering names lately. And during my whole podcast the other day, this is real quick corrections. I kept on calling Jerry Grant Harvey Grant. And I don't know which son he is of, whether it's Horace or Harvey, but Harvey is either his uncle or his father. So I apologize, Jerry. And I don't know why I called Michael Rappaport David Rappaport. Like, I don't even know where that came from, but yeah, those are my only two corrections. Jerry and Grant, Michael Rappaport, you need to correct those. Now, hope you enjoy your 4th of July. We're going to sit back and watch as the free agency decides to, as it starts to clean up and we start to finalize. Remember, we still have some days now. We have about 7 days before anything is done. So this is going to be an exciting time. We're going to finish up this exciting time period. And here as all these names potentially go to all these teams. And during our next show, I may not go football heavy. But we are going to talk about these current suspensions. Antonio Gates and his steroids. Richardson being dumb enough to fail another piss test, that opens up an opportunity for that rookie that the Jets have to get some playing time. Thank you once again for listening to the MyT Sports Minute. I, again, am your host, Talon Taylor. Remember to party hard, enjoy everything, remember nothing. Woo!
Thank you very much for coming out this evening. Thank you.